Hello everyone. Today marks 8 years since I started cubing, Speedcubing in particular. To celebrate, today I will be telling a story about how I got into cubing. Now I know I have already made a video on this, but I decided to make a higher quality video of it. Now this is kind of a long story, but an interesting one, so let's just get right into it. To start, let's go all the way back to summer 2004. I was 4 years old and we had a Rubik's Cube at our house. At first I did not know what it was supposed to be. I actually thought it was a weird building block with colors. You know, those blocks you build with as a kid. I was then shown how it works, but I did not know that there was some goal associated with it. I just really liked turning it, even though I did not know what you were supposed to do with it. Soon later, we had a friend over who knew how to solve it. He solved it for me, and I then learned what you were supposed to do with it. Soon after, it got mixed up again, and I really wanted it to be solved. I tried doing it myself, but could not figure out how to do it. This carried on for another 2 years. Once during this time, I did peel off the stickers and put them back on the right way when I could not figure it out. I also learned how to take it apart and put it back together correctly. Around the summer of 2006, my dad bought another cube. This one came with an instructions manual. I was unable to understand the notation, but I did understand the steps you take to solve it, like how you make the cross, solve the bottom corners, and so on. At this point, the best I could do was solve one side. The instructions told me to do the cross on green and continue from there. This is the reason why I only do green cross, because I never switched to white or anything else afterwards. In November 2006, I really wanted to learn how to solve the rest of the cube. My dad taught me the notation, and once I understood that, I gradually learned each step. I did this over a Thanksgiving trip to Chicago and Wisconsin. I would learn one step, and once I mastered that step, moved on to the next step. Finally, on November 24, 2006, I successfully solved my first cube without asking my dad for help. Not only did I solve it for the first time, I did not look at the instructions because I had already mastered the previous steps and was just getting the hang of the last step. I was very happy I could solve it and started showing everyone I interacted with. It would usually take me about 2 minutes to solve it each time, but I was just happy I could solve it. Fast forward to Christmas 2007. I received a 4x4 cube for Christmas. Up to this point, I did not know of the existence of other twisty puzzles. I tried solving it layer by layer like I did with the 3x3, but could not figure it out. The same thing followed next Christmas with the 5x5 cube. I figured out how to take apart the 4x4 and put it back together, but could not do the same for the 5x5. For this reason, I never scrambled the 5x5. At this point, I would pick up the cube for a little bit if I was bored and had nothing to do, and then would set it down for a long period of time. Then came May 2011. I started to practice my 3x3 a little bit more. In one weekend, without learning anything new, I brought my times down to about 50 seconds. This is when I found out that there were competitions after seeing on Felix Zemdeg's 5.66 second solve. Around July, I stopped practicing a lot. I went back to just picking up the cube for a little and then putting it down afterwards. Then in December 2011, one of my friends was over and decided to scramble my 5x5. Again, I could not take it apart, so I could not fix it. I just left it that way because I had no idea how to solve it. Shortly afterwards, I had another friend over who saw the scrambled 5x5. He could solve a 3x3 cube, but nothing else. Later in February 2012, he asked me if I had figured out the 5x5. I said I was still working on it. I felt like he really wanted me to figure it out. Then it was the morning of March 25th, 2012. My parents were on a trip and would not return until later that day. I was on spring break and had absolutely nothing to do that day. Feeling like my friend wanted me to solve it, I thought it was time to learn how to solve the 5x5. I decided to do this because my 4x4 was in pieces and I could not find all of them to put it back together. I dug up my 5x5 and opened my computer and searched for a video on how to solve it. I found Me, Myself, and Pi's video tutorial as it was the first one that popped up that looked high quality. I already knew that you solve the centers, edges, and then solve it like a 3x3. His tutorial made it very simple and not as hard as I thought it would be. After about an hour of using his tutorial, I had the cube solved. I initially wanted to wait to show my parents when they got back, but I thought it was so fun that I scrambled it and solved it again, and again, and again. In the process, I also learned that solving the 4x4, 6x6, 7x7, and so on were very similar. I initially thought that one was completely different from another. I also searched Me, Myself, and Pie's channel and also found Red KB's channel, and both exposed me to the many twisty puzzles there were. Immediately, I just took off and wanted to buy more cubes. I immediately got a replacement 4x4 cube to solve. At this point, I thought every cube out there was made by Rubik's. It wasn't until I went to my first competition that I discovered that there were many other companies that make cubes, such as Diam. After this, I got a few more speed cubes and continued to collect non-WCA cubes. Zoom forward to November 2013. At this point, my interest shifted away from collecting twisty puzzles to speed cubing. This is when I seriously began to practice. I basically practiced constantly and learned the advanced method and then got to where I am today. And that is how I started cubing. Going back to the morning I learned the 5x5, I thought I would just solve it once and be done with it. I did not know I was getting myself into something that I would be so dedicated to for this long. I would like to thank my dad for buying the cubes and teaching me how to solve the 3x3, and my two friends, the one that scrambled my 5x5 and the one who encouraged me to solve the 5x5. Without any of the things they did, I would not be where I am today. So thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think and feel free to tell your stories about how you started cubing in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.